All right, this first like 2.5 minutes is kind of crawler glory. I guess this was sort of like peak warm up. So you could probably just like watch this first 2.5 minutes and then just skip everything else, especially if you don't want to hear me ramble on about whatever. But I took the time, I think a while ago, to cut the pins on this. What else? Hard Park carbon fiber weight brackets showed up for the rear weight hangers, and so approximately 15 grams total of titanium putty weight was added in the form of those Outlaw weight hangers. And it definitely made a huge difference. It seems to now keep the back end of this thing much more planted. And so spent some time yesterday running 3 different rigs on the indoor course, which has kind of had a little bit of update. I added probably 4, maybe 5 inches of height. It kind of stopped at the trapezoid rock there that has the lip on it, and nothing that it's driving over right now was there. It kind of stopped right about where it is now. So I added a few more inches actually on both sides and in height, just a couple levels of difficulty, because I know that this and then the carrier bearing rig really don't seem to be challenged by a whole lot with this too much more any longer. So yeah, and I even included a nice couple of turns to set up for this as well. I had not tried this at all because these axles and everything, the problems that I was having just kind of was sort of limiting my ability to be able to try some stuff. So I just put in some raw, unedited video here to give you guys an idea what's going on with these. Everything's working pretty well. I do want to thank the one person, and I went back to try and find your comment so I could call out who you were that suggested it, and I think maybe even a couple of you did. The drop of super glue on the universal joints, the pins of the universal joints, is a good fix. It's a solid fix. I was able to run all evening last night without having the pins pop out. I do want to say when I was putting the super glue on that I noticed that the U-joints were kind of getting a little seized. So just keep in mind that it feels to me like they sort of want that movement. And by limiting it a little bit with super glue, you're kind of running a little bit of risk, but they seem to be okay. Seems to work all right. A little feel-good climb right here. Probably about 5.5, 6 inches right at the skid. And while it struggles here, as soon as it manages to get a bite on the rock there, it starts to set itself up. So I'm pretty impressed overall. The only thing I want to mention is that the shock mount points on these seem to be causing a bit of problem in a couple different ways. I lose the spring here, and I'll continue to explain what my thoughts are. I think with the shock mount points on the axles being as wide as they are, and then with these moving back and forth as much as what they are, and then the pistons having mill marks in them, and with these being sealed, now it's kind of hard to imagine that this might be happening, but moving back and forth as many times is what it does. I think what's happening is it might be unthreading itself. And then the other thing is it's also placing enough pressure on the O-rings from being so wide that they're at such an angle, even with spacers at the body, that it's forcing the outer O-rings off. And that last clip, I just lost the top O-ring on the left, and so therefore the shock popped off. It's really not that big of a deal. I don't, necessarily mind, that at all. It's not like it bugs me in any way, but it's just something to kind of note if you're looking at these and wondering what's going on or having problems. It's something I've never had an issue with on any other. I've never lost an O-ring, and I've never had a head pop off of a shock or anything like that. Sure, I've had them come unscrewed before, but that's over prolonged usage. I'd say there's probably no more than about 2 hours of runtime on everything with this build as the way that it is. So just an interesting little thing that happened. And after everything got bolted back together, I checked and made sure everything else was tight and stuff. Everything was okay. I did lose an O-ring on the left rear shock top by the end of the little kind of session here. So Anyway, I've obviously been rambling this entire time about little random bits and pieces. Hopefully you're still watching the video, maybe still listening to me or not. I'm just doing laps at this point. Kind of just excited that I actually get to run this thing for any length of period of time without something going wrong with it. It's definitely pretty stable now. It's a very capable rig. It's probably not the most capable thing out there, obviously. I think I've said that before. But for what it is, you know, almost, I guess, year-old technology at this point, it still holds its own on the course. Pretty stable rig otherwise. I had never done any of these lines. I had done some rearranging and stuff. Like I said, I added some bits and pieces. That big rock in the middle is a new addition. I wanted to see what this would and wouldn't do, and so decided to go at it a couple different ways. And there's some struggle mixed in with this, and there's some success mixed in with this. I just wanted to just record video and show you what's going on with this thing. I know I edit out a lot of the struggle sometimes and just make everything look so completely seamless and easy, when in fact there are sometimes many backups involved in getting to where I need to go, especially in this weird tight corner like that. But once it's up, it just goes. Nothing really seems to have challenged it too much. With a few right placements, everything seems to happen pretty smoothly and effortlessly. This is different than the first clip that you saw was a full round trip. This is actually the first full round trip with this thing, so everything that you're seeing right now is a first run with this. I had not dropped down the top of this at all. Didn't really know what was going to be required yet. I switched back to 2S in this as well, mind you. The 3 different 3S packs that I've tried to run in this have all over time given me problems in one way or another. Whether it's good cell life in terms of showing that it has 3 cells, excuse me, and it just being incredibly short, like I don't get 10, maybe 15 minutes of runtime, to the point where I see sometimes only 1 cell, 2 cells, maybe 1 cell has died, 2 cells have died, 1 completely smoked and burned up while charging in this thing, and it was not plugged in to the ESC. I always unplug. And so, and the reason why I leave it in here is because, I mean, it's a bit of surgery getting batteries in and out of this thing. And, you know, it's built and balanced to be able to compensate for the 27 grams that the battery weighs. And so that doesn't necessarily bother me. What bothers me is that those Palm Beach Bots batteries, for whatever reason, just have always given me a little bit of a hassle. And so I've just switched over to a generic 2S. I lost a little bit of my top end wheel speed. That really only affected 1 climb in this, and it's just a matter of how steep it is. I can't seem to bring wheel speed up in order to be able to make some of it, so it's interesting how much horsepower you actually do lose or gain. The difference between 2S and 3S. There is a quantifiable horsepower difference there for sure. Not the steepest. Again, just another challenge. It made it, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think I would have included this in the video if it didn't pull this. But I don't think it made it first up. I think I had to reposition. But the new additions to the course added some challenge that this thing, like I said, it needed. So did the other rig. The carrier bearing rig really just didn't seem to be challenged by anything at all. So I wanted to add a little bit of complexity, a little technicality. Well, not the steepest thing, and certainly not too much in the world of hang gang. There's definitely some challenging spots, require some backups. I'm not sure if I'll ever get the exact line figured out where I don't require any backup, but it'll be certainly fun trying to figure it out. This would probably make that climb without that rock in the way in the front, but it's just there for being there. I really did try to make it down this. This was a goal. This still remains a goal. As you can see, coming up. This is where wheel speed, the climb coming up this is why I'm currently missing the wheel speed that I have with 3S, and also going down is the same reason why I'm missing wheel speed. You got to get the wheels out from under this thing quickly, and I wasn't able to. So this climb coming up on this side is infinitely more challenging now that I've changed it from the point where the front wheels are now. Everything up is now totally different. At one point in time, one of the shocks of this thing leaks out and puts a big drop of oil on one of these rocks that you see eventually in another part of the video. It might be this right here, actually. You can't really see it, but oil is now all over that rock from that right rear shock. Not exactly sure what happened there. I don't know if the shock body was loose or what took place, but something happened. Now you can see it. See the oil? That's a leak. But anyway, yeah. If you're still here, holding on for this thing to make this climb, thank you very much for sticking around. I am finally happy that this rig is not only completed, but I can actually run it for 15, 20, 30 minutes or so and not have any major catastrophes happen. You know, albeit the shocks come apart a couple times, or if I lose an O-ring, that's a hassle. I'll figure out what to do with that issue as time goes. But in general, very pleased, very happy with everything. The rear weight hangers really made all the difference in how this thing drives. And so, you know, that alone, like I said before, was something that I've been really waiting on. And so now that this rig is essentially complete, yeah, it should be a lot more fun to drive and figure out what it's capable of. So hopefully be able to run this a little bit more as time goes on. So once again, thanks for watching. Feel free to hit the dislike if you're one of those folks, but hit the like, subscribe if you haven't already. Comment, complaints, questions, talk to the manager, anything along those lines. See you later. Talk to you next time.